mikono yangu juu, naisifu nchi yangu maarufu. Hello, hello Tanzania, hello, hello upendo wa kweli. Hello, hello Tanzania, hello, hello mapenzi ya dhati.
Ikiwa sitakuwepo kesho, yote nilofanya kwa taifa langu yatachipua na kuonekana tena. Naisikia moyoni raha ya upendo huu iliyonizunguka kwa ndani ya moyo wangu, kwa sababu bendera itaendelea kupepea kwa uhuru, kwa sababu bendera itaendelea kupepea kwa uhuru.
Nanyosha mikono yangu juu, naisifu nchi yangu maarufu. Nanyosha mikono yangu juu, naisifu nchi yangu maarufu. Hello, hello Tanzania, hello, hello upendo wa kweli. Hello, hello Tanzania, hello, hello mapenzi ya dhati.
Undugu na umoja wetu ni mikono iliyotushika, inatuongezea thamani kwa majirani waliotuzunguka.
Naisikia rohoni raha ya upendo huu,
kwa sababu bendera itaendelea kupepea kwa uhuru,
kwa sababu bendera itaendelea kupepea kwa uhuru.
Kwa hakika hakuna asiyekujua. Kama hakukuona, alikusikia, alisimuliwa, alihadithiwa. Haukuja hivi hivi tu, bali kwa mipango yake Mungu akasema naje, ukazaliwa Tanzania. Ikiwa ajuaye pweza walipo ni mvuvi, basi ajuaye thamani ya Tanzania ni
any smart partnership type of interaction is being regulated through an anonymous way of doing so, to use Carl's anonymous.
is a tacit understanding that when the drum in smart partnership movement beats, everybody is ready to start a smart partnership interaction or dialogue. And those who are still coming, we will drum so that everybody knows they'll be embarrassed, it's too late. It happens very often. But those who go earlier, that's a separate issue. I don't know if there's good excuses, that's fine. Otherwise, from the beginning until the end, there is a smart partnership interaction, otherwise one cannot pick up issues. Welcome to the CPTM Smart Partners Hub. Smart partners are governors, central bank governors in the smart partnership movement, and one or two of the governors that we have the honor to have with us, around whom we got together, have been founders of this group since 1984, such as Governor of Mauritius was not governor when in 1984 we came about to exist, and there are 30 years since then. We have governors who are kind of founders or ministers of finance when smart partnership movement spread in Southern Africa, particularly in the context of leaders of a particular type who have been taking a hands-on interest to develop this type of interaction for think tanking purposes, to approach issues of the kind that one is aware of, but the kind of things that Carl just explained to us a bit before. So Governor Minister Majosi from Swaziland was part of what was called an interaction, a think tanking interaction that His Majesty, the King of Swaziland, introduced as following President, His Excellency President Museveni and Dr. Mahathir, who came up with this idea of a must for regular think tanking before dialogues. And His Majesty, before the dialogue in 2003 in Swaziland, when all of us went there, he wanted some more in-depth and provocative things that may be dealt with during the dialogue. And there was a think tank in His Majesty and a number of individuals here in London. Why in London? Not London matters. It's a space that matters. It's a space, a more kind of smart partnership type of space that some of the leaders with smart partners created since 1984. We wouldn't say it's neutral, but it's of a particular type. It's a smart space. And the tradition and modernity was the basis of that think tanking, and since then that was put on the map. And like this, before gatherings as once per year, or twice per year, or every other 2 years, and smart partnership movement as in a dialogue form, there are numerous think tankings since then. And most of them are at the hub, most of them are in association with a dialogue that is coming, like the governor said, this dialogue in South Africa, but which dialogue in South Africa is like a part 2 of Dar es Salaam. So Dar es Salaam in 2003, the smart partnership dialogue in Dar es Salaam, together with the likely dialogue in South Africa, will form one kind of preoccupation, which was raised by His Excellency President Kikwete, who had himself a think tanking interaction here at the hub before the dialogue took place. And there was this issue of leveraging technology, accelerating transformation, not only from the point of view of technology, but from a more systemic point of view, which is very difficult to define without getting into theoretical jargon. But in the last 4 or 5 years, what His Excellency President Kikwete observed, and the other colleagues of his, was that this issue of technology could be talked about in the context of operative, like National Bureau of Standards, which usually are looked at as technical, like central banks because of this financial inclusion, which is one of the main reasons we're here, but because of technology itself, but because everybody's coming around this carrying forward national visions, which are not national development plans. So this was the kind of platform on which in the last 4 or 5 years a lot of evidence has been brought in that it's possible to emerge strategies and delivery of those strategies with a particular approach, with this smart partnership approach, which has values, ideas, deliveries of type based on networks and so on, and which, in relation to what in Dar es Salaam last year, Prof, we were trying all to counteract or to come up to reply to why nations fail. There was the idea how nations could succeed. The smart partnership way through this strategy framework that evolved from real-time situation, real-time people, not simply in think tanks like Demos, but you are now part of that, so you are a real Carl. Now, today, we already started the financial inclusion, which is the main reason why the governors last year had a whole half a day during the Smart Partnership Dialogue in front, together with heads of government, vice presidents, chief executives, and all the rest of it. And it produced a lot of interest, of course, that session, and it was obviously a request that there should be more think tanks identifying specific issues and integrated with standards, with visions, etc. So, today we have actually, besides the financial inclusion, for about an hour or so, as you can see in that outline of the dynamics that you have, we have about 2 hours of trying to signal, we already started, issues which are likely to be a preoccupation of further think tanking. But there are issues which are connected with signals that one hears, like the Bitcoin and so on, and they are grouped into 4 aspects on your outline on the piece of paper. But you could connect them however you wish. And we will end up with where we go from here and all the rest of it. So the first part will be Governor of Tanzania, Professor Ndulu, and the second part will be led by Governor Mr. Binik, Manu, but of course with the joint involvement of the colleagues. And here we are then, please.
Thank you. I think Mihaela has already laid out exactly the approach that we're going to take. And maybe I'll say a few words by way of background, and then see whether we can focus really on the topic for this, which is to take stock of where we are, what progress we have made since we last engaged on this, particularly in Dar es Salaam. Now, I think behind the whole initiative on the part of the central bank is the spirit of adaptive flexibility approaches. And that's why I think the conversation we had just as we were having lunch was exactly right. And it will be one of the tests for us to see how we can really invoke this spirit in order to really harness the good from the possibly bad and see how we can make headway with that. Now, when we met last, there are three dimensions of the ambition that we had actually adopted. We have set quite ambitious targets in our national visions to roll out access to affordable finance. And so it's not just a question of access, it's a question of affordability, and therefore it is both the reaching, as well as cost effectiveness in the delivery of that. Unfortunately, given a very low population density in the bulk of African countries, except a few like Mauritius and other much more tighter states, reaching is hampered by distance. And unfortunately, the traditional model of reaching through banking system with brick and mortar is too expensive to be able really to achieve the goal. And therefore, we adopted an approach of how we can make use of technology in order to bridge the gap of distance and offer that service cost effectively. So, you know, the arrival of mobile telephony offered us an excellent opportunity as a platform. And there were three dimensions of it. One was simply making payments. So the first use was just payment systems, so the M-Pesa and you know all the other types of mobile payment system actually became quite useful. But the second dimension then was also to make sure that we make connection to financial intermediaries, the banking systems, and other form of financial systems, in order to offer products that typically would be available through that, but using that platform. So the payment infrastructure became a platform for delivering these services. At the beginning, there was a lot of pushback from the banking system, thinking it is an alternative to banking services, but being offered without, the language was exactly the same, without supervision and therefore very unfair competition. Over time, that conversation has changed completely because banks now use that platform to do exactly the kind of business much more cost effectively by using the same agents that are being used for payment system. So this involved two types of partnerships. One was partnership between telcos and banks or other financial institutions on one hand, because otherwise you cannot deliver even the payment. You still have to open trust accounts in commercial banks. You don't just do that as a telco. The other partnership was between regulators on one side and the service providers, both on the telephony side and on the banking side. And you needed that pair or set of partnerships to be able really to achieve these results. So let me just very quickly give you just an example of how much we have been able to do so far using this approach on Tanzania side, and then my colleagues can also tell their part. You know, we just did a FinScope survey end of 2013, in December 2013. The previous one was done in 2009, and the results were remarkable. We had put a target which was considered ambitious of raising financial inclusion formal, from 27%, which was then in 2009, to 50% in 5 years. When the survey was done, actually we have surpassed that target already by 2013. In 4 years, moving from 27.4 to 57.4%. And this, though, was done primarily because we were able to use this technological platform in terms of reaching out. Now, the second development, which was important, is the range of products then that can actually be delivered through that platform. There are two particular products that I wanted just to mention, which are a result of very smart thinking again. A telco and a bank have come together and developed or devised a system where one now can open actually bank accounts through agents that number virtually 110,000 against number of branches that actually are about 600. Number of bank branches are 600, but agents are about 110,000. Now, what happens in this case is that actually I've done it myself, and I'm a big user of this. I just go to my balances that I hold for payments, which is under M-Pesa, and then actually request to open an account with a bank called CBA, which is the other partner. Within 3 hours, wherever I am, I'm given feedback whether I can actually open that account or not. And in most cases, you can open that account within those 3 hours. It doesn't matter whether you are situated in a rural area, in a town, as long as you actually have access to that payment tool, the M-Pesa. So you can save on this, and you score points as you save, and then you can borrow. The one who's actually handling your savings and credit is the bank, the commercial bank. It's not the telco. The telco is purely a platform. So, you know, when I heard about the Bitcoin and the technology we're talking about, my initial thinking is really to go behind that technology and see whether that technology, particularly the cost effectiveness of that technology, can be exploited to be able to offer such services even more cost effective than, in any case, what I heard was clearly that you still need the mobile telephony to be party to that. So probably the partnership now might involve a few more, a few more. So I thought I would share with you on that. Let me conclude by just pointing out that since we met, we have thought it important within Africa to have actually a framework or a network for knowledge exchange. You know, some countries have started this earlier than others, so there is always scope for exchange in real practical terms of how these things have been done. And this is called AMPI as a network. And that network has already actually started this process of exchanging information, exchanging study visits, and also helping each other in terms of developing exactly the regulatory instruments that you need for ensuring safety. Now, that particular framework has identified three biggest challenges going forward with this, right? The first one is simply what's known as interoperability. Right now, each one of the telcos and one who is operating these systems operates their own. For you, let's say there's Vodacom, M-Pesa, and there's Airtel. If somebody sends me money, who is Vodacom and Airtel, I cannot simply add that balance to my account. I have to go via a cash point, so that I encash and then I buy Airtel money to add to my account. Now, what has happened, fortunately, already in Tanzania, 3 out of the 4 operators have decided to sign an agreement to become interoperable. So I don't have any more to go through a cash point in order to do this, which is a big step forward. Because there's always the issue of who was the pioneer, how do you capture the rents, of pioneering, aren't you giving others advantage, free lunch, so to speak, but they were able to do that. So this was one of the key challenges we have taken on board ourselves. The second is the range of financial products. The product I just described is called Empower, but the power is written in Swahili, but to mean exactly the same, right? Which is empowering, very low income households to be able to open savings accounts in a bank using this particular platform. But a third challenge, which I hope we'll take up in the next discussion, is that for those products really to be able to reach the majority of the poor, we have always had a big constraint of standards. And this is in terms of know your customer, the KYC requirement. So we are going now to engage with standard setting bodies in order to adopt a proportional KYC, if you want, so that depending on the size of the account, the type of information you require would be proportionate to the risk that you would face. So part of the engagement that we're going to undertake as a group is actually to pursue that. So this is briefly what I wanted to share with you more broadly as far as the initiative is concerned, and then just to give an example as far as Tanzania is concerned.
AMPI network is, how did it come about, the AMPI network?
It came about mainly through AFI. This is the Alliance of Financial Inclusion, which was global, but there were very clear advantages that we as African countries had in terms, particularly, we are almost pioneers on the mobile payment system. So we wanted to really sort of harness that in terms of helping each other to move quickly so that all of us can move.
It's formed of central banks, or including telcos?
That now includes central banks on the regulatory and the policy side, telcos, banks, are all part of that.
Of AMPI?
Yes.
The network?
Yes, are all part of the network.
Technologies? No?
Yeah, technologies too. Because it's just, I didn't mention one of the key challenges we had from AMPI is security.
But maybe you want to mention because...
That's really one of the key. And there we can't really succeed because really the validity of that service is as long as people have trust and confidence in that particular instrument. And you can undermine it very easily by really pilfering the security systems of that. So we are now also including on board technologies so that we can work with them to give us, we as regulators too, the comfort that this system can work, and therefore that's one of the key again challenges that we have
Probably we'll come
identified.
back to that
Yeah.
security and
Yeah.